Steam and various console stores are awash with cheap horror games, so if you're strapped for cash but fancy getting scared, cause why not, you'll rarely have to fork out more than a $5. However, this feature ups the budget to a maximum of $20, and in doing so becomes a list of who's who in semi-modern horror games. Seminal titles, most of which you've likely heard of already, but might have avoided playing for some reason or another. Now, to be clear, the 15 highlighted here isn't exhaustive, not even at all. There are tons of awesome timeless single-player horror games out there going for less than you'd expect. Clock Tower Rewind. Experience the prodigious 1995 survival horror Clock Tower in English outside of Japan for the first time. The original is intact, outdated gameplay like soft lock progress and overly obtuse puzzles included if you like that sort of stuff. But alongside is the quality of life enhanced Rewind version, providing ability to backtrack save states rather than forcibly starting over. Included too are animated introductions, motion comics, creator interviews, artwork, and a dedicated music player to enjoy the game's phenomenal soundtrack. However, a word of caution, don't expect a modern experience. Clock Tower Rewind, despite the extra content, is very much a relic of its time, you've been warned. Available on PlayStation Store for $19.99. Choo-choo Charles. Those of us who grow up watching British kids TV shows Thomas and Friends can look back at its cast of oddly human-faced sentient locomotives and realize just how creepy that show could actually be. Taking inspiration from this, plus Stephen King's novella Charlie the Choo-Choo, is Choo-Choo Charles, a decidedly bizarre survival game whereby your weapon-equipped train is tracked by the titular bloodthirsty spider locomotive hybrid. Another one that can be yours for $19.99 via PlayStation Store. What Remains of Edith Finch. The unease in playing through What Remains of Edith Finch comes in reliving the life-ending tragedies which befell the Finch family. Exploring the ramshackle Finch family home as last surviving family member Edith, you'll be transported back to each of her ancestors' demises, but the experience's magical realism aesthetic makes piecing together the exact circumstances somewhat cumbersome. Ultimately, What Remains of Edith Finch is a well-realized story about familial tradition, accountability, and paranoia, and you absolutely must play it if you haven't. It's currently priced at $19.99 on PlayStation Store. Tormented Souls. Drenched in vintage Alone in the Dark and Resident Evil atmosphere, Tormented Souls follows investigator Caroline Walker as she creeps by candlelight through the hallways of a petrifying mansion turned asylum, her sleuthing against the torment of shadowy evil and twisted monsters, an attempt to discover the happenstance surrounding the disappearance of two young girls. Modernized with updated controls and dynamically shifting camera perspectives, the horror Tormented Souls uncovers is fiendish. At the time of this feature's creation, Tormented Souls is on sale at $4.99 on the PlayStation Store, though it's usually priced at $19.99. Layers of Fear 2. Divisive is Layers of Fear 2, with numerous detractors lamenting a lack of focus in favor of grander scale for the sequel. Sure, the game's story rambles at times, but inarguable is Bloober Team's ability to craft atmosphere. Layers of Fear 2 toyed with haunted house tropes more successfully than its predecessor, thriving on the experience of a player character exploring a world which never really makes sense. Another one that can be yours for $19.99 via PlayStation Store. The Forest. Nights are dark in the forest, to say the very least. Daytimes are spent gathering resources, fortifying defenses, and consuming sustenance to keep those all-important energy levels up, because this survival-tinged horror ramps up the fear when darkness falls. Those not always murderous cannibals become downright hostile under the night sky, and the unease at spotting lights through the trees or hearing distant blood-curdling screams elevates The Forest to one of the most memorable horror games in recent memory. Steam users can snag The Forest for $19.99. Dead Island Definitive Edition. Including the genre-smashing original and story extension Dead Island Riptide, Dead Island Definitive Edition brings all the fun-soaked skull-cracking viscera bang up to date with a high-resolution remaster, delivering crisp HD graphics alongside improved lighting and shading. Despite changes elsewhere being few and far between, the game's ever-excellent melee combat together with the high-res touch-ups means this package earns its Definitive Edition moniker. Usually priced at $19.99 on PlayStation Store, although Dead Island Definitive Edition is currently collectively on sale for $4.99. Dying Light. Merging freewheeling parkour with flesh-ripping melee, Dying Light is in many ways Techland's magnum opus, taking all that was great about Dead Island and embellishing into a zombie horror all-timer. A surprisingly heartfelt story underpins the rampant killing, but it's the game's post-apocalyptic open world that steals the show. A city with well-laid-out paths for free running ensures sprinting from A to B is an exercise in maximizing flow state, except for, the zombies. Dying Light is 10 years old now, but thanks to years of post-launch support, the experience still feels fresh, exciting, and works well on modern hardware. A bargain for $19.99 via the PlayStation Store. Like others on this list though, Dying Light is currently on sale, $5.99 on PlayStation. Outlast. Remote Mount Massive Asylum is the target of investigative journalist Miles Upsher's suicidal infiltration and research mission in Outlast, as despite a whistleblower tipping off that the psychiatric hospital's patients are being subjected to inhumane experience, nothing can prepare Miles for the evil that's actually lurking within. There's so much. A horrific demonstration in show, don't tell, the sickly green glow of Miles' camcorder night vision is a genius mechanic in which to view the grisly goings-on. One of the scariest games on this rundown for sure. Xbox players can grab Outlast for $19.99. The Evil Within. Releasing back in 2017, The Evil Within is easily one of the best horror games out there. The various boss encounters and intense combat help it usher in a new breed of survival horror. Intricate stories and complex characters exist in a brutally dark world, featuring exceptionally crafted, anxiety-inducing environments. Such is The Evil Within's pedigree that it arguably inspired Resident Evil's modern renaissance, originating with Resident Evil 7. Usually $19.99 via Xbox, although Game Pass subscribers can currently grab it for less than $4. Alan Wake. The long-awaited sequel to 2010's Alan Wake shifted focus closer to an out-and-out survival horror, but whilst Alan Wake 2's predecessor wasn't inherently scary, it did harbor enough horror elements to lay the foundation for 2023's follow-up. An ominous presence stalks Bright Falls as the titular writer searches for his missing wife, whilst enacting the pages of a thriller novel he doesn't remember actually writing. The remastered version is arguably inessential as the original still holds up well, plus it's less than $20 as per this feature's requirement at $19.99 on Xbox. Resident Evil. The game, which defines survival horror, returned in 2015 with a remastered HD version of its 2002 GameCube remake, and the sharpened facelift hasn't dulled the shuffling terror whatsoever. In fact, whilst graphics aren't always the be-all and end-all, Resident Evil functions more and much more effectively with denser shadow detail. The Spencer Mansion's claustrophobic dread excruciatingly dialed up to 11, made even more tangible by the game's classic tank controls and wayward aiming. Regularly popping up in sales, Resident Evil is usually $19.99 on Xbox. Amnesia: The Dark Descent. A game to be avoided if you're faint of heart, to say the least. Amnesia: The Dark Descent begins stereotypically enough with player character experiencing, yep, you probably guessed from the game's title, amnesia, but the experience evolves beyond Daniel, rediscovering his memories against the backdrop of a foreboding castle. As you progress, you'll become trapped within the macabre recesses of Daniel's mind, experiencing psychological torment firsthand via his sanity meter, itself a fear of the dark mechanic which was novel for its time. Another game that's ordinarily on sale quite a bit, Amnesia: The Dark Descent's normal price is $19.99 as per its listing on Steam. Little Nightmares. Rarely does a horror game make the player feel as helpless as Little Nightmares. In command of yellow-coated character 6, a little girl with no combat ability whatsoever, players must tiptoe through the darkest corners of a grim world to avoid the gaze of nightmarish monsters. Viewing terror through a character's eyes is disturbing enough to be sure, but it's the game's grounded reality making all this horror seem as though it could actually be real, like an embodiment of someone's imagination perhaps, is how Little Nightmares actually sticks with you for the long run. Currently $19.99 via Xbox. Limbo. A modern classic, dark ambient side-scroller Limbo plunges you into a twisted world haunted forest, dangerous foundries and stagnant swamps as a small boy in search of your sister, who, depending on your interpretation, could be dead or alive. Mechanically shallow, sure, but in conjuring mystery through a combination of grainy black and white with superb sound design, Limbo is an essential play. Plus, it's available on practically any platform for like $9.99 on Xbox. So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.